So I have this little rat tail. Do they call this a rat tail in the US? I'm not sure. I don't know what it's called. Anyway, it's pretty unsightly how long my hair is, but I kind of just wanted to leave it until I have to cut it for the army when I attend my reservist training at the end of the year. I just wanted to see how long I can bear with it. I was also thinking about dressing up as Hao for Halloween, even though Halloween is not a big thing in Singapore, not at all. I don't get invited to any like Halloween parties, but this year we might have a little gathering, so I'm looking forward to that. Anyway, hi my friends, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, I'm Casper, the boy diviner, and what I usually do is share the decks I have, deep dives on certain decks, you know, basically tarot stuff. Really hoping to dive into doing more beginner friendly things, but I think exploring decks and looking at different decks is also a beginner friendly thing, so I hope you guys enjoy my content, and if you do, please leave a like and subscribe. It really helps me out. Today's topic is my most yin decks. Previously, when I talked about masculinity and femininity, you know, there are so many connotations to it in today's society that I don't know how to wrestle with in a way. So I decided to use something more obscure, something from my culture called yin and yang. And yin and yang is like, it's different, but it's also the same. We talk about polarities. Yang would be the plus, yin would be the minus. Yang is the sunny side of the hill, while the yin is the cooler side of the hill. If you look at the Chinese characters, Yang has a sun in it and Yin has a moon in it, so it's pretty similar. At the same time, I always felt like there was a dearth of Yang decks in the world, so I did a walkthrough of all the Yang decks I have. I'm sure there are many Yin decks out there, a lot of more feminine decks. I just realized that I don't have many of them in my collection, not those that I would determine as Yin. For example, one of the decks I almost wanted to show you was the Stunning Tarot by Jonasa Jaus. But in the end, looking through the images, I don't think it's a yin deck. Even though it's made up of primarily women, it is not a yin deck. Through this video, I hope you guys understand where I'm coming from when I talk about yin. I usually pair yin decks more with like cooler art, like color-wise more cool, more pastel-y. There's a lot of white space in the decks. This is what I deem as feminine or yin in this sense, okay? So again, the gender, female, doesn't mean feminine. The first decks I wanted to show you is my SIOLO THOMPSON decks. I have a lot of decks from SIOLO THOMPSON. I am a fan of her art. So far, her decks are beautiful. I just never really, I don't know why. I collect them, but I don't really gel with them. But the Line Strider is one of my first decks. I think it's the third or second deck I bought. So it's pretty old now, and I keep it in this little organza bag that I got from buying crystals, I think. And I really didn't like the cardstock, but I really enjoyed the art. Some of it didn't really make sense to me, but I thought the guidebook that came with it when I was new was really interesting. I don't know if you can see yellow spots. Am I imagining? I think the edges are all yellowing, probably because of how I hold it like this, you know. But I do feel like this deck is very yin. You see, this is a masculine card, this is a yang card, but with a very yin drawing, you know, how she does it makes it look so yin, which is a good thing. I like this deck a lot. Maybe I should revisit. I'm thinking of doing a series called like revisiting my old decks and then doing walkthroughs of them again, talk about how I feel about them. So it wouldn't be first impressions, it would be like second impressions. If you guys are interested in something like that, please share, let me know. Apart from this Line Strider deck, there is also the Scrying Ink Lenormand. I do feel like this one is not as yin. I feel like sometimes the balance of space at the top and bottom has a few issues in this deck, but I do like the color washes. I like the watercolors in this deck. But since I got my Green Glyphs Lenormand deck, I never used this one. I like that one much better. I also have a Otherkin and her Hedgewitch deck, so I'm gonna quickly show you the Hedgewitch one. It's the Hedgewitch one, which is a oracle deck on herbs. I'm not really like a nature person, even though I do witchcraft. I'm not really that kind of you know, kitchen based or earth based kind of witchcraft. I do appreciate these cards, I like them, I just don't feel like it's a very balanced oracle deck, so I don't really use this one also. And then the last one that I want to show you that is my favorite out of the whole SIOLO THOMPSON collection I have is the Otherkin Tarot. I like this cardstock much better than the rest. This one is really good, a bit glossy but not too bad. And I like the creatures that she's drawn. So if you ask me, this or the Line Strider, I will say this. and the knights in this deck are one of my favorites. Okay, now that we are done with the SIOLO Thompson decks, all these are very yin decks, I think. Let's go on to the other more yin decks that I have. One of them is a deck that I also barely use. It's the KAWAII Tarot, but I think anyone can see why this would be more of a yin deck. I actually really like the designs. At the price point that it came at, it's really worth the money, I would say. I wouldn't say a beginner should use this one because you see, there are a lot of pips in this deck that don't really make a lot of sense sometimes. Like 7 of Wands is defense. I guess the Sun is defending against the Canes. Oh no, I got confused. I think the Canes might be swords and then this might be the Wands. So kind of screwed up there. But you can tell that if you don't use this deck enough, you can confuse yourself. It doesn't really mean a lot. But I do enjoy this deck actually, and now looking at it, I do feel like maybe I should give it another go. Because I don't think I can sell this deck. I don't think anyone will want to buy this stack of cards, you know? Unless I meet someone by accident and I sell it for like maybe $5 or $10, you know? But it is definitely one of the more feminine decks in my collection. I collected it because of its simplicity, because of its pastel colors. I really like the pastel colors. Yeah, it's an aesthetic deck. I think it's an aesthetic deck more for like Instagram maybe. And that's throwing no shade to the artist. It is a beautiful deck. The next more feminine deck that I wanted to talk about, the next yin deck I wanted to talk about is the Star Spinner Tarot. I think I don't think anyone needs an introduction to this deck. I have a friend who always calls this the Sailor Moon deck because of how the art is. So even if you look at the back, it's shimmery and you can see how delicate and beautiful these figures are. It is very yin on the back, you know? I recently did a collection on my favorite card backs. I was considering putting this one in, but I didn't in the end. But it does have a beautiful back, and I think Mistress Ray talks about how it's like a portal. Some of her backs, this one feels like a portal to me, with all the stars circling, you know. Yeah, it is definitely a very feminine deck. It is very kawaii, anime. I hate using those words. I'm sorry guys. As a person of Asian culture, I always feel uncomfortable saying that, but I really don't have any other words to describe this deck. Of course, while it leans more to the yin side, there's of course yang elements in these cards. Yes. But you can see that some of the yang cards are more simply drawn, like this one. And the Chariot that I shown you, and if you look at the Emperor here, he looks a bit undrawn. So I don't know if that's on purpose. I don't know if that's, you know, Trungle's trying to express something. In any case, it is what it is, and this is one of my favorite yin decks to use. The next yin deck I wanted to show is one that has been talked about too many times in my channel. I don't even know if there's a point in showing it anymore, but I guess just in case people are new to my channel, this is the BOTAN Tarot, and it's amazing. It is an art novel, watercolored Asian deck. So it's a lot of things, but it is definitely more yin than yang. If you look at the backs, it's a delicate flower. If you look at the front, oh, how serendipitous. This is the Fool. How gentle these cards are. They are so gentle. This is definitely more of a receiving kind of nature, the kind of yin on the shadowy side of the hill. The cool side, you know. Feel like this deck is definitely a yin deck, and I don't have to show it too much. And I don't know if, you know, anyone watches to this point, but someone commented on my previous masculine decks video, and we talked about it. You know, everyone has their own view of what might constitute a more yin or a more yang deck. I think one of the things that I always notice in myself is the outlines. So thick outlines, very defined outlines tend to be more yang to me, based on my feeling. That being said, you know, the True Black Tarot doesn't have any outlines, so it really depends on what comes across. But that's how I find. And all these decks I've shown you so far, all the outlines have been pretty thin except for the KAWAII Tarot. But this one has a very strong like style that is definitely tending towards the yin. Okay, I have one last deck to show you guys, and this is more of a dark yin deck. All the yin decks I've shown you so far has been quite neutral. Even in yang decks, so there's always dark and light, you know, a shadow and light, I would say. And then NICOLETTA CECCOLI Tarot is definitely yin, but it definitely has a lot of shadow. And to the point that I don't know if I can work with it, and I kind of have agreed to sell it to someone so far. I just wanted to quickly show you guys. So this is another one that barely has any outlines, and it's a beautiful art. But so far I've been kind of scared, not scared, but more like intimidated by this deck, because sometimes the art feels quietly intense. Apart from that, I would say sometimes I also feel like the meaning of the card doesn't really gel with the image. For example, this is one of them. I love when the Nine of Pentacles has a bird of prey with them. This is not a bird of prey, that's fine. I understand where they're coming from. I don't see this as that self-sufficient, independent woman, you know, wandering the gardens. That's not a good or bad thing. It really depends on your reading sensibilities. If you can take these kind of variances in your cards, it's fine. As for me, I'm okay with some variances. I'm okay with variances that are well justified, but the book here doesn't justify them. The art here is not clear also, and I guess this is because Nicoletta CECCOLI didn't draw a tarot deck on purpose. These are repurposed images based on someone's view of how the tarot is, and not that this person did a bad job, but it might not gel to my sensibilities. If you also looked at Boho Tarot's channel, she cut off the suits and she basically redid this whole system to fit her own view of the images, which, you know, makes a lot of sense. I feel like, you know, for this deck you might have to go that far to make it suit you. Whether I have the energy and that time, I currently don't. So I think I might as well pass this on to someone else so that they can try it out and see if it suits them better. Okay, that's all the yin decks I kind of have today to show you guys. I had a few more on my mind, but these are the most yin decks that I have, and I hope you guys enjoyed this walkthrough. If you're gonna do a similar video, let me know. I'm more than happy to watch it. And if you enjoyed my video, please leave a like and subscribe. It really helps me out, and you guys have a great rest of the day. You take care. Bye.